Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor goes to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem Harakah Kadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of GMS. Peace, love, and salutations to the Bayaf Dawadah, the house of David. Our brother Zion out of GMS Boston. Once again here on my channel, and Lord willing through the Spirit. This is edifying. Alright. Denialism. And the psychologically of human behavior, denialism is a person's choice to deny reality as a way to avoid a psychologically uncomfortable truth. Denialism is essentially a rational action that withholds the validation of a historic experience or an event when a person refuses to accept or impartially verifiable reality. This is the demon that our people suffer from, man. Isaiah 1 and 3, the ox knoweth his owner and the ass is his master's crib, but Israel does not know, my people does not consider. It's amazing how you can break things down to a Jake concerning their nationality, and a Jake could tell you everything. He's everything underneath the sun. He'll tell you he's a Dominican, a proud Dominican. He's an Asiatic black man. He's an African American. He's a Puerto Rican. He's a Moor. He's a Muslim. But the moment you get to mentioning that he's a Hebrew Israelite, those demons start coming out, and he refuses it. And the reason for that being is, that he's a slave. He's a good slave. A good slave is going to be happy in his mind with things that don't belong to him, such as his nationality. In order for you to be proud about something that does not belong to you, you have to be mentally broken down. Psychologically, you have to be broken down. And this comes from generations of being raised and taught to be proud of what you've accomplished for Master, and to be happy with what Master's given you. Your name, your heritage. In order for you to beat yourself on your chest and say, I'm a proud Dominican, I'm a proud black man, you have to be broken down mentally, right? And when you don't have to look at the old movies to consider how Jake is always proud, how these slaves are always proud of things they accomplished for Master, whether it's they built them a house. You see Jake standing there cheesing ear to ear. Look at this house. Look at our house, Master. This is a beautiful house, Master. Look what we did. You see the slave even more proud and more happier than the actual Master, because that's a slave. Okay? You train your slave to be happy when you're happy, to be mad when you're mad, to be sad when you're sad, and to be happy with the crumbs that he give you. And to this day, Jake is happy, and they brag and they boast about things that don't belong to them. Their heritage, right? Their names, right? Neighborhoods, projects, blocks, street names, cars that they rent, cars that they finance, houses that they rent, weaves that they buy that doesn't belong to them. Never happy about one's own accomplishments, but always happy about what somebody gives them. Jeremiah chapter 2 verse 14. Is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled? The nation of Israel is in a state of servitude. Slovakia. Definition of servant: a person who performs duties for others, especially a person employed in a house on a domestic duty as a personal attendant. All right, and that word employment goes back to what? Slavery. In the house. You in the house, whether or not it's just necessarily a house that you live in, but in somebody's country, in somebody's backyard, in somebody's underneath somebody's wing, underneath somebody's subjection, man. You're a helper. You're a supporter. You're a slave. Our people are slaves to everything. A slave to money. They're proud about money that their faces aren't on. They're proud to go to church and to worship a God that looks nothing like them. Even though according to the Bible, it looks nothing like, that's a whole different story. You know, the true description of the Lord. They're happy to show the Chinese man and the white man and the East Indian man that they're good people. But when it comes to their own people, they don't give a damn. Why? Because our people are slaves. And in 2021, we got to convince our people that they're still slaves, because it's a mental thing. That's what the Lord said. The Lord said, what freedom was, you know? Because our people are, the truth shall make you free. In John chapter 8 verse 32, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Right? Because it's a mental thing, man. When a slave had to be a slave and a mental, you can't be a slave if you're not one mentally first. There's free men that refuse to be slaves, and it starts with education. When you're dealing with the island of Haiti, you had which sparked that revolution was you had a huge population of free Levites, of free so-called Haitians, and they were educated. And once you get a taste of freedom, education, you know that A, you'd rather die trying to fight for your freedom, all right, and B, you know, you will stop at nothing to obtain that freedom, you know. So it's hard to enslave a free man. You gotta first make him a slave in his mental. That's why this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is so important and it's so keen. This is the biggest threat to so-called white supremacy, is because once we get freed mentally, okay, that's what a paradigm shift is. A paradigm shift is a way of thinking, and a huge way of thinking, and a conscious way of thinking. We're forced to reckon with. We're no longer going to tolerate what we're tolerating, but because of Jacob's in the state that is in, it's only because they're slaves. And I say days because through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahshua, we've been free. Knowing is freedom. Knowing is freedom, man. It's hard to enslave a free man. Why? Because he knows. But when you ignorance, that quote of Harriet Tubman, I have freed thousands of slaves. I could have freed hundreds of thousands if only if I could convince them that they were slaves. There were people that really didn't know. They didn't really realize that they were slaves. They didn't know it was something better. The social construct, the mental, being in the house, being a servant. They thought that they were so reduced to nothing that any crumb was a blessing. But once you know you come into the full potential of who you are, Yahshua, the Prince of the Power, it's hard to look at your house and look at your car and look at the little piece of jewelry you got, all right, or whatever tangible thing that you have, and to Accept that. There's a quote, never settle for nothing less than your best, man. This ain't our best. This is not even close to what was given to us. Verse 5, why should you be stricken anymore? You revolt more and more. The whole head is sick, and the whole heart faint. For the sole of thy foot even to the head, there is no soundness in it, but wounds and bruises and purifying sores that have not been closed, neither bonded up, nor mollified with ointment. And what's the sores? That, we are slaves. We're slaves here. We're yet this day in the land of our captivity here in America. We have nothing. No land, no oil refineries, no military, nothing of our own. And we fight for everything that's everybody else's. When you join the police force, you fight, all right, for somebody else's laws, not your father's laws, not your forefathers' laws, not the Heavenly Father's laws. You fight for somebody else's laws. When you join the military, you fight for somebody else. Slaves are servants to other people. Slaves are servants to other people. A rulership mentality is what we need to put on. Being subjected underneath a woman is not it. That's a slave. Imagine the Heavenly Father said He created the woman for the man, and you become a subject and servant to a woman. It should piss you off, man. I did this lesson to remind you, brothers, look, we still fighting to let our people know that, look, man, we're in slavery. In 2021, we're captives. We don't own nothing. Stop fighting for shit that don't belong to you. This truth belongs to us. This is the only damn thing we should be fighting for. Shalom.